Hello, welcome to another CRaFTi Experiments video. I've been saying in a couple of different videos that I really wanted to show you or experiment with you and see if the LOKLiK Mini Heat Press, which I showed you in March or Aprilish time, using some heat transfer vinyl onto a hoodie for pumpkin, whether that is hot enough at either the first, second or third of its temperature settings to melt embossing powder to give us some kind of backgrounds like these. I previously did these two with my craft iron, and I don't know if you remember, if you've been around long enough, but when I did the CRaFTi Advent series a few years ago and I was trying to do a new tutorial video every day of December, I had a few days where I just ran out of time and I had to use some old videos, but I had lots of things planned for those. I had more than enough for the days of Advent as well, so there's quite a few things that I experimented with like 2.5 years ago that I've still not actually filmed a video on, and this was one of those things. So I suppose it's quite good that I've left it till now because we've got something different to try as some kind of tool to get this to sort of work as well. So we're going to be trying to create some sort of melted embossing powder backgrounds like this, plus I might show you as well this kind of thing too, using like a chipboard shape too. I do usually do this in a different way, and I do want to do an experiment video on how I do that as well. That was in that Advent series too. I did actually get around to doing a couple of videos using it, but I do want to do an experiments video with that as well. So we might do a little bit of that in this video, because if this works, then I think it will be great for doing those kind of like embellishment topper kind of things, as well as backgrounds and things too. So I've got my little LOKLiK guide that came with my little mini heat press, and the first setting is 140 degrees, the second one is 160 degrees, and the third one is 180 degrees in degrees C. I'm not sure what that translates to for degrees Fahrenheit, but for those of us who use degrees C, then those are the three heat settings. Now when I googled what is the melting point of embossing powder, because I don't think any embossing powder actually tells you on the pot what the melting point is, to know like what heat things have to be at, but I guess most people don't really think about that. You just sort of have a heat tool, you think, oh, it's heating it up, and it works, it melts it, so you don't sort of think about what temperature it is. But I was kind of curious, can we still actually melt the powder on the lowest setting? Do we have to go up to the highest setting? Is the highest setting not high enough to melt the embossing powder? So I thought it would be a good experiment kind of video, because I've not tried with this particular machine before to try and melt embossing powder. So what we're going to do is, first of all, we're just going to try that really basic technique of taking a piece of card, my favourite 300 GSM white card, which is the Craft UK smooth stuff that I always use. I don't know why I just got drawn to this cardstock years ago, but it works nicely for me for colouring and stamping and wet mediums and all sorts of things, so I just tend to use it for everything now. So I've got a piece of that cut to size, and I've also got a little piece of baking paper or baking parchment or greaseproof paper, whatever you tend to call it. It was just a really cheap one that I got in Home Bargains, just for specifically for crafting, because I didn't want to use my expensive Lakeland stuff for crafting. But yeah, just any sort of greaseproof oven baking paper kind of product that you have, just so that we're putting the embossing powder onto our card, then we're going to put this over the top, and it's going to protect our iron or heat tool from getting any embossing powder on it. Maybe to be extra safe, just because I don't want to ruin this, just in case it does melt the powder really well, I might use 2 pieces to begin with, just so then we can see, does it come through one piece or you know, anything like that. I don't think it is going to, but just because I'm wary, because I don't want to get embossing powder on the heating platform of this, I'm going to use 2 pieces to start with. And then once we've gone with going straight onto cardstock, we might experiment with using a folded piece of greaseproof paper, and when you do this kind of version of it, you can actually peel the 2 sheets apart, and you can end up with 2 thin versions of it, or if you let it cool first before you peel one side off, you'll just get like a thicker piece, which is very similar to what you'll get on your card, but you'll have it in freehand form, which you can actually die cut into if you want to as well, or you can just use glue to stick it onto a piece of card as well, but you have a little bit more freedom of manipulating the embossing powder and stuff if you do it separately and not straight onto cardstock as well. And you can do this like extra heating to it to make little holes and things in it too, which is quite a cool effect. So we will play around with that. If this works, we'll be going on to that, and then if that works, we'll move on to some like chipboard or even a wooden shape as well to see if we can get that to work too. For this technique as well, obviously we need embossing powders, and I'm going to use a complete random mixture of different brands. I've got a few colours of the Distress Embossing Glazes. I just picked out Salvaged Patina because I want to do some kind of watery effect first. I think it would be a good way to sort of show you that when you pull the greaseproof paper off, you get like a directionality to the colours and like striations within the embossing powder, and I think it's going to give a really good watery effect, so I want to try a watery version first, hence why I've picked out some blue colours first. I've got one of these little tester pots that came in a craft kit, so if you have any of these left over from your tonic craft kits, it's a good way of using up things like that. And I picked out a couple of other embossing powders from tonic as well. I've got the Blue Depths and the Serenity Blue, and the little one was Blue Odyssey, or Odyssey Blue even. The only thing is, sometimes with lighter colours, you've got to be wary, because to get this to be a light colour of embossing powder, this is actually white with a colouring on top of it. So when we're melting it in a larger quantity like this, this might give white rather than a light blue to our project, so we've got to be a little bit wary of that. I've just found that when I've been experimenting with them in the past. It doesn't happen with the Distress Glazes because they are transparent, so they are just like a clear powder with a colouring on rather than a white powder with a colouring on. I've also got tons of different, off to the side here, triple thick embossing powders, because I do really like using the triple thick ones, because to me it feels a little bit less like you're using a lot of your embossing powders. You don't really use that much, but when you're using a finer powder, it's obviously a bigger scoop of that to, you know, cover the same amount of surface area. So I've also got some ultra thick ones. Lots of these are Cosmic Shimmer ones. And I've put them into these smaller pots because I have the big round pots like this of them, and it's just easier for me to see all of the different colours that I have if I've got them in smaller quantities, and then I write on the top what they are. So I'm going to pick out as well the Moonlight Blue, Lapis Jade and Cobalt Sky, and a lot of the Cosmic Shimmer ones actually have mica in them as well, which is why I wanted to mix in a translucent one and some of the flat colours from tonic too, so that we get some different sort of results as well. What else might I want to use in this? These are also the ultra thick ones. They just came in a multi-pack and you got smaller pots of them anyway. Some of these are absolutely beautiful colours. I would actually like to try doing a rainbow as well, and I think I do have all of the colours of the rainbow to try doing that too. But because we're going for a sea kind of theme for this, I think I'm going to keep those. I'm going to keep clear out as well, because I think I might start with clear. And then I also have this one that I just bought recently from the CRaFTi Experiments website, and it's actually called Ice White, and it's actually a mixture of white and clear together, and I thought maybe sprinkling a little bit of this on will give like that sea foam look to the edge. So I mean, you can obviously just mix together white and clear, but I don't have a ultra thick embossing white. I only seem to have all sorts of different colours. I don't actually have a white one. I did buy some of the Wow Ultra High White, which I definitely could use as well, but I just thought I would go for this video. And then I do have lots of different Wow ones off to the side here. Some of these I really want to try. I bought these recently. It's the quad pack of Seth Apter ones, and they're all like different surfaces. So you've got granite, asphalt, brick and concrete, and I think it'd be really cool to do like a concrete heart, so we might try that later on. So I've got those to play with too. I'm not using them in this, but I just saw them there. And then also recently my mum got me all of these ones from a charity shop. They were selling them for £1.50 each. I know this is a really old brand, and this is very old packaging from Meltar and Suze Weinberg. So I'm pretty sure they will still be alright to use, but we're going to find out in this video if they, you know, have a particularly bad smell to them when they melt or something, because a lot of old embossing powders, if they have got to that stage of being too old, they really have a peculiar smell to them, which I think does mean that they have, you know, gone past their best really. But I'm thinking, I've got bronze, gold, and then I also have platinum, which I don't have any platinum. I do have some silver, but I have never had platinum ultra high or ultra thick powder, so I think I might put a little bit of platinum in to make this look a little bit different too. So first of all, because we're experimenting, we're going to turn the mini heat press on, and we're just going to hold it down and press, and we're going to just turn it on to the first heat setting, and it'll beep when it is ready. I probably should have done that before I started rabbiting on, but we're going to do that. And then for this one, I'm hoping you can kind of see where my card is on here. Oh, this mat that's under here as well, if you're wondering why I have a bright pink mat here, it's from IKEA from years ago. You're supposed to make like cakes or macaroons or something on it, and you've got the circles on the other side. Oh, goodness me, that heats up so quickly. I forgot how quickly that heated up, and it just made Pumpkin jump on the windowsill. Sorry, Pumpkin. Yeah, so I've got this mat underneath, and I just use the reverse side of it. It's basically just a silicone mat, so it's just to, I know I'm working on a glass mat, so I don't really have to think about heat proofing things, but I just feel like it's always better to be safe than sorry and have something that is heat proof mat on here as well. And sometimes we might want to work onto this if we think the powder is going to spill off and melt off onto something else. We might want the silicone mat underneath it as well. So we know that our tool is heated up because it just beeped at us loudly. So first of all, I think we won't go for too many colours first, but I'm going to start with some clear. So I'll zoom you in a little bit so that you can, actually that's good actually, I can make sure I'm in frame for if I zoom in later on as well. So we're going to work straight onto our piece of card, and I kind of want to create, you know, when I'm making a card, I tend to go for that, you know, in the top 2/3, either a circle or a square or something. That tends to often be my focal point. So I'm going to go for that kind of an area, and then we want to try and see if we can create this kind of sea sort of theme to it. So I'm going to go clear first, then I'm going to take some of the Serenity Blue, which is actually quite an old colour, I think, of the tonic ones. And as I said before, I think this is going to melt and have a lot of white in it. So I'm putting it down first, so it's not going to obliterate any of the other colours that we might put on top of it. And then I'm going to go in with some Salvaged Patina Embossing Glaze. I have used these before, I just keep the bit of protective stuff back in the lid again, but I have used all of these ones before. So I'm going to just put some of that translucent powder onto here as well. It just gives it a different like depth of effect as well. And if we do this and we don't like the shape it's come out as, or we don't like how something has melted into something else, you can just add more powder on top. So what we're doing now doesn't have to be exactly the end results. I'm going to take a tiny bit of this little Odyssey blue, or Blue Odyssey, I can't remember which way around it was now, just so we've got a nice little bit of dark in there as well. And then I think for the Cosmic Shimmer one that we go for, I do love this jade one, but I don't know how often I have used this Midnight Blue, so let's go with some of this Midnight Blue. And these are the ultra thick granules, so there's much more powder within one little granule of it because they're much bigger grade. So we're going to go in the same kind of places as the dark that I just put on there as well. And then once we've done that, I think we could try and put a little bit of this ice white into there as well to kind of give a little bit of like sea foam kind of effect. I think we're going to have to be a little bit sparing with this because again it's white and white tends to spread quite a lot, but these granules aren't too big actually, which is nice. So I think just a little bit like that, and we can always add more, which is nice. So let's keep our fingers crossed and see if this works. If not, we can up the temperature. and we can actually, if we take a little soft brush, I'll just make sure there's no die cuts in there, because they tend to fling everywhere and they get in the bristles of this brush all the time. We can actually, oops, I didn't mean to drag through it like that, but we can actually get rid of any excess that's maybe not conforming to the kind of shape that we wanted. So I didn't mean to drag through it just there, but I think I've fixed it. So I'm going to go 2 pieces of the baking paper, just because, as I said before, do not want to ruin my little mini heat press, just in case it does melt and it does come through the paper. I don't think it will, but I'm just being wary. So we're going to take our lovely hot little mini heat press, and I'm going to just move to my right hand. It's on my left side because my plug socket's on my left side. And we're just going to gently see if the powder is going to melt with this temperature of 140 degrees. And it hasn't come through, so that's good. And it has started to melt. Not quite enough yet, but it has started to melt. So I think we're safe to just go with 1 piece of paper. Oh, it's moving. It's definitely melting it. So that is really good to know that the temperature of this does actually melt it, because you're never 100% sure what temperatures things need to get them to melt. So it's quite nice to know that you only need 140 degrees, which is good. So if we pull it off this way, yeah, we should get, oh, it's cooling down a little bit, but by pulling it off to the side, we get a little bit of directionality of like the ripples within the colour. I mean, that's not 100% quite how I thought it was gonna go. I haven't actually melted this bit enough down here, but we've still got the gorgeous shiny effect because we pulled it off while it was hot. We can actually wait for it to cool, and then we won't get that sort of striation in it. I do like the result that we've got, but it's not 100% what I was thinking in my brain. I think it's because I use a different way of doing this kind of technique where you're heating from underneath, so you're not putting the pressure on the top, and I get different results that way. So I definitely will do an experiment video on that later down the line as well. But I do like how this has turned out. Actually, that one looks really good on there. How can we add to this? I definitely think we need to go again and add a little bit more powder to create some different kind of effects on here. So let's go with some more clear. Actually, can you see here how white that looks? And that's the Serenity Blue. You can see how much, well, it doesn't actually look that much paler on the camera, but it has gone paler because there is white within the core of all of those little granules. So you might want to do little test things with some of your colours first, just to sort of be wary that the colour that you see might not always be exactly the colour that it turns out to be as well. Okay, so put a bit more clear on. Then, I do love this Salvaged Patina, that has gone really nicely on there. I might put a bit more of that on. Let's go in this bottom corner here. This is such a fine powder. The Glaze powder, they are called glazes, aren't they? Embossing glazes, yeah. They're such a fine powder compared to a regular grade embossing powder, or even the ultra high as well. They're just like, really are like dust, those glazes. So I think everything just melts at a different speed as well. So we probably got to be a bit more wary of that when we're playing with this too. I do love that darkness in there as well. So let's try with the Cobalt Sky this time instead of the Midnight Blue. Oh, that's got some really big chunks on the top there. We'll go back in a similar kind of place with this. Okay. I think that's going to be enough for now. So we're going to put this back on. If I picked it off in that direction, let's put it back on this direction and see if that some of this might transfer back onto that as well. We really are just experimenting in this video. I'm not expecting to get like some kind of masterpiece out of this at the end. We really are just experimenting. So don't judge anything too quickly if you don't like how it's turning out at the moment. But we're just going to apply more heat on here. Maybe it will be better with a higher heat, so we could even press that again and turn it up to the second heat and just wait for this to heat up. It shouldn't take long. I mean, going from cold to the first heat, it was literally like seconds. So perhaps if we go up to the second heat setting which was 160 if I'm remembering rightly. See, so quick, 160, yeah. So already at temperature, which is brilliant that it tells you, because sometimes I feel like you're waiting so long for something to heat up and you could have been getting on with stuff so much quicker, but you didn't realise it had already reached temperature. But this is great because it actually tells you. So we're just applying our heat all over. Some of the areas where there's more powder, you can actually use that kind of point to the end of the tool to kind of move the powder as well, which is quite interesting. Get different results that way too. So hopefully I'm not squidging it out too much that we're going off the edge of the card. I think we're still safe. This time, instead of pulling it off while it's hot, let's see the result that we get if we leave it to dry and then peel the greaseproof paper off. Not dry, the cool, I mean. Oh, not quite cool yet. This should give more of like a matte effect. But if you want to get the shiny effect back, all you got to do is use your heat tool to add a little bit of heat back over the top. And if you're doing that as well, you can then sprinkle in either some more powder to create a different effect on the background that you've created, or you can sprinkle in something sparkly as well, and then the melted powder, once it cools again, will hold that into place. So we can definitely experiment with doing that as well. I always find just glitter or glitter bits look brilliant when you're doing this kind of thing. Any of the confettis from Tonic look brilliant. I've got a few different things from Wow as well that you can sprinkle into the molten embossing powder as well. So it should be cool. Yeah, oh, that looks good. That looks like a really rough sea, and actually I quite like the matte look that we've got from that. Doesn't that look like a rough sea now? That looks so good. It's crazy the kind of results that you can get when you play around like this with using powders in different ways to how, you know, they should really be used or how they're intended to be used. But I love that effect. I was going to show you how to shine that up, but I quite like how that's turned out actually. Maybe we can try a little bit at the edge here just to show you. I don't want to... That's the trouble with this as well. You kind of think, oh, I'm going to go through a process to get to a background, and then you sort of get halfway there and you think, oh, actually, I don't want to go any further than this. I quite like how it's turned out. So let's just heat this I like how that's looking, so I'm going to go over the whole of it. I think I like that more now, but because we did that in two different layers, the top layer got like the pitting effect that when you do it onto the greaseproof paper that I'll show you a little bit later, and you pull it apart and then you try and heat it, you get this kind of like holy effect, and that's actually, it's done it but with the top layer, but the bottom has still got the first layer of embossing powder that we put on, which is really interesting as well. Doesn't that just look so cool? Just imagine, oh, that tiny little boat die cut that was in one of Tonic's craft kits that I did like a mixed media wave out of some Nuvo mousse. That tiny little boat in there would look so sweet. Or perhaps some little fishes, little die cut fishes, or stamped fish and coloured in, or like a turtle swimming down here or something. You can do so much with a cool little snapshot of a background like this, and I just think that's a really cool way of making a background. I'm so glad this works as well, because it just gives another different tool. If you don't have a craft iron, you don't want to use your real iron, this kind of thing can be better. Plus, it's smaller and doesn't have the same shape as an iron. Let me get my iron. So as I was saying before, with the craft iron that I have, all of the settings for heat, it goes wool, cotton, linen, and it doesn't really tell you like what temperature that is, plus it's an annoying noise when you turn it. But the heating part of it, if you just put that down onto your project, you know that you did that with an iron, because that's just a typical iron shape. Whereas with this, it's a smaller size, which means you can do smaller projects with it without applying heat to different areas that you maybe don't want to. But because it's an oval shape, you don't necessarily know that you did that with an iron. Like if I had done that with this, perhaps I would have got a squared off corner, or when I was doing these backgrounds with this one, you know, having such a big surface area, it melted it more and it came off the edges of the card, where I was actually going for a smaller element like this, but it kind of spread over the whole of the card. So I think that this LOKLiK Mini Heat Press is going to be brilliant for doing this kind of mixed media things with. And if you do want to actually get hold of one of these, I know I have already done a video on it for LOKLiK, but I'm actually part of the HTVRONT affiliate scheme now, and if you click on my links in the description below the video, I'll get a small commission at no extra cost to you. But if you use the code Christine Smith, which is CHRISTINESMITH, it will be in the description box as well, you'll get 10% off as well, so you can actually save even more. And at the moment, you'll see some more about this next weekend, but at the moment they're running like a Halloween event, and a lot of the things is you're buying the accessories but getting the tool for free. Like they're actually doing a really good offer on the cutting machine that I did a video on as well, and I will be using that hopefully next weekend in my video too. So yeah, definitely check out HTVRONT's website if you want to get hold of this mini heat press, because I think the one on their website, it won't say LOKLiK on it, it will say HTVRONT, but they're like a parent company of LOKLiK, so I presume everything is the same across the brand, but you're just getting the different brand names onto things. But yeah, if you definitely want to get hold of one of them, then really do take advantage of that 10% off, because, you know, saving every penny helps. And at the moment they've also got other offers on, but the 10% also works even though some of the products are already on offer, so you're getting even more savings as well. Okay, so let's try and do another one of these backgrounds, because I really liked how that one turned out. So let's go, should we do the same colours again, but leave this one matte this time? Let's do that. So we're going to go with some clear first, just to give us a nice sort of base. And this is actually, if you want to know exactly what clear I'm using, again, I've decanted it into a smaller one because I have this massive one. This is the Ranger Ultra Thick Clear Embossing Powder, but the next one I've got to use is the Cosmic Shimmer one as well. I've bought another one already because I'm getting quite low on this pot. But that is the same one. I've just put it in that smaller pot so that it's much easier for me to use and see which colours that I do have. And then, to make this one different, let's add in some of that platinum. And that's all just gone everywhere because it's in the screw thread of the pot. Oh dear. Oh gosh. Okay, we're going to need our brush to tidy up this. I just sprinkled some on there, but let's, without spilling what we've already done, let's try and move some of this. There we go. And I will have to tidy this up later, but that platinum looks gorgeous. I love platinum. It's like kind of like a whiter gold or antique-y kind of gold colour. So let's put like a vein of this coming through here, and we'll have to see if we like it matte or if we want to heat it again like we did with the other one and get it to be shiny. If we do heat it and get it to be shiny, I'll show you how you can add other things into the molten powder as well. Hopefully if I take all of that off it won't do it again. It's probably because I just shook it, didn't I? Did I shake it? I think I shook it. That's probably why. That all went everywhere. So I'll have to tidy that up in a little bit. Okay, I've tidied that up a little bit. So now we're going to go and turn this back on. and we're going to go second heat setting because that was working really nicely for us. And we're going to use the same piece of parchment paper. Make sure the dirty side is down just so that we're not remelting the powder and getting it onto our mini heat tool. It is called a mini heat tool, isn't it? I keep saying that name. Mini heat press. It's the mini heat press, not tool. So I cannot believe how quickly that heats up. I was going to say something else then. I've forgotten now. Oh yeah. Another great way to use these kind of backgrounds, if you don't think, like if this isn't your style, to have a relatively simple card with maybe something little on top of here, this can be behind something. So you could have die cut out a word using alphabet dies, or a shape, or a filigree kind of die, and place it over the top of it as well. This doesn't have to be like the main focus on the card. This can be more like a background paper that you're creating as well. So, you know, if this isn't kind of exactly how you might use this technique, still have this in the back of your mind because it might work for other kind of things that you want to do as well. So let's go with this and start getting this all melting. You know, I think we probably can just stick with the first heat setting. I don't think we really need to go up to the middle actually, so we'll just stick with the coolest setting. We've just got to make sure we leave it on there long enough really. I think that first time, because it was the first time, I was kind of a bit dubious about using it. So yeah, sorry, I got distracted then. There's a grass bag blowing around outside, and Pumpkin just put her head up. I thought she was going to bark at it. But you're a good girl, you didn't. Okay. So, we could actually... Oh, it was saying that it got to temperature. Oh, now she's barking at the grass bag. Now she's gone into the kitchen to bark at the grass bag. I don't know who it belongs to because mine's in the garage, so... Okay, so I think that's going to be heated enough, and if we're actually clever, like we were doing with that first one, we might... Oh yes, we got the directionality of it. I still don't know if that's exactly what I was hoping for. I think it is because we can't apply constant heat because we're using this directly from the top. When you're pulling it off, you're getting a different result to what I've gotten in the past. But this does mean now I can show you heating it up again and sprinkling something else into it. But I do like this effect, and we are going to keep some of that gorgeous like directionality in there as well. You can see it almost looks like, you know that sorry about Pumpkin, you know that technique that was really popular ages ago where you had like coloured alcohol inks into clear resin and then you put the white through it and it made like cool effects in it? It kind of gives me that sort of a feeling, and we've got that beautiful platinum in there as well actually. Sorry, I'm trying to get the camera to pick up that beautiful platinum. It just wants to show off the reflection. You can kind of see a little bit of sparkle in there, but really beautiful. Okay, so I'm going to leave that there because I'm going to show you how you can take that off and use that as well. But let's actually get our heat tool, and I want to remelt this edge in particular because it's gone a little bit matte where obviously that bit was cooler, and there's a little bit up here as well, so I'm going to do that. Okay, and then I have these that I recently bought as well with that quad pack from CRaFTi. I thought that this was an ultra thick embossing version of their polished silver, but it's not. It's silver glass. So this is just for sprinkling in. It's not actually going to melt. But I thought maybe if we heated that little bit up again, we could sprinkle a little bit of that in, and it'll kind of give a cool textural kind of effect. So almost looks like a geode now. Look at that. Isn't that really cool? Oh, I like that. I'm glad I bought that now. It's not exactly what I thought it was, but I like that. It has gone a bit messy because we had all of those extra splodges and stuff around the edge. I don't mind that too much. I think I do prefer it when it's a bit cleaner around the edges, but we can cut this. There's nothing to stop us cutting that into a square, die cutting it, maybe not die cutting with these pieces on there now, but you know, freehand cutting it into some kind of square sort of shape, and then turning that into an absolutely beautiful card. But I love those glass bits in there. They are really beautiful. Okay, so I'm glad we tried that. I do actually as well, I don't know if you've seen them, I haven't done a video on them yet, but the Spangles from Cosmic Shimmer, they come in two parts. You get a sort of shardy glitter and then an ultra fine high quality glitter that match in the same colour. And when I've been using them for samples, when you put the fine glitter on top of the piece that you've put the shardy glitter on, sometimes you end up then with a mixture left over. So I've been keeping my leftovers of mixtures in little bags, so we could try using up some of these leftovers and sprinkling them into the molten powders as well. I think that would look really lovely. So I'm going to move all of these and pick a different colour scheme to go through. I'm going to turn this off first. But before I do that, I'm going to show you what I said I was going to show you, of how you can take this off and use it as well. It looked like that wasn't a full piece, but because we had that clear in there, the clear was sort of deceiving us, and that is actually a full piece that you could use on something else. Now you get the matte side on the back. Actually, that's really cool. And then you get the shiny side on the front. Now the only thing about this is how do you stick it down? Because there are different ways that you can put this onto your card, but it depends what result you want. If you want that just as it is, then just use some like Cosmic Shimmer glue or just a wet PVA glue or maybe even a spray adhesive to stick that down, and that'll be perfect. But if you don't want to use any adhesive and you want it to stick to your card, you can heat this, and it will sort of bond itself to the card. But because we're heating it and this is just a thin piece of the embossing powder, it's gonna start melting and curling back on itself and creating holes. I can show you if you want. It might actually be good to show you. Okay, I'm going to move that piece out of the way. I kind of like how that turned out, but I will show you how you can actually stick this down with heat, but you do get a much different result to what you're seeing here. So if you like this result, then use glue to stick it down. If you are just experimenting, then you can also do this. So I'm just going to hold it to one side and not put the heat near my finger. So can you see how it just sort of like bunched back up on itself? It gives a really cool look, a very different sort of look, a very worn, almost like watery kind of look really. But you can get those results by using a very thin film that you've then created from a different background and adhere it down that way. I think that has completely fused itself onto there now. It might be a little bit loose, it's a little bit loose just there. But you see that it kind of does this thing where it sort of starts to melt and then catches back on itself and then just runs away. So I hope you can kind of see that happening. I'm sort of watching this, not the camera, so I'm hoping I had that in frame. But it does give a cool result, but it's just very different to the other result that you can get. We will get some more of those little skins when I do a different version of the technique as well, so don't worry. We will see some more of those beautiful pieces. I haven't just completely obliterated the only one that we've got. But that does give a cool different result. So it's just another way that you can use those kind of leftover pieces. So now I'm going to clear these away and pick a different colour scheme and then come back. Okay, I've picked out a warmer colour scheme for this. We'll do one onto cardstock and then I'll show you trap between two pieces of the parchment and doing it that way as well. But the one we do onto cardstock, I'm thinking of going for either the gold Spangles, which is called white gold, or the copper Spangles. This bit that I've got left has actually got more of the fine glitter than the shards in there, but we'll see once we've done the background which colour we think will work better with it. But the colours I've picked are the bronze colour, which I've never used this one before, and also we found out, didn't we, with the platinum, that these, even though they were like $1.50 in a charity shop and they're really old, I mean, this says copyright 2002, so that's 22 years ago, and they still work nicely. So even if you have some old embossing powders in your stash, try them, because you might be surprised at the results that you get, or maybe you just want to use them up. You know, maybe you want to get a few new ones, maybe in a newer brand that didn't exist back then or something. You know, you can just use up some of your old ones doing these kind of fun techniques. For the Nuvo powders, I've picked out Strawberry Slush, which I know for a fact has got a lot of white in, because you can even see it in the powder. So again, we're going to use this towards the bottom, but you can actually see the white speckles in there. It kind of gives more of a dappledy kind of look when you use that one. I've also got two different embossing glazes. I don't know if we'll use both. We might be going more down the orange. Maybe I'll pick out the picked raspberry instead of the yellow then. So we could put a little bit of picked raspberry and a little bit of Crackling Campfire with the translucent ones. Then for the Cosmic Shimmer beautiful sort of pearlescent-y kind of ones, I've gone with Lapis Orange and then Bronze Luster as well, and then I've got the clear too. So I think those are all of the ones that we're going to use for this. So I'll speed this bit up so that you don't have to watch this process again, otherwise this video is going to get really long, and I'll do it again in real time when we trap it between the two pieces of the parchment paper, but I'll speed this bit up for you. So I've melted all of that, and we're just waiting for it to cool, and then we can see together what this looks like. Hopefully it's going to look good. Yes, pumpkin? That does look really good. We can tap off, there's a bit of unmelted powder there which we can tap off, and even with the matte effect it looks pretty good. And actually we've already got a little bit of that like bubbling in there as well, so we're going to see some more of that when we heat it up again to add our spangles on there too. So I think from the colours of this I want to go with the copper spangles. I think they're going to look really good on here. So how do we think, just trying to think, because I kind of want to have this ready on the spoon, but if I do that and then I heat it, it's going to blow it everywhere. So maybe if I keep the spoon in the bag. Okay, I'm back. Turned out Pumpkin wanted a game of fetch in the garden, so it's like 20 minutes later now. But I thought of some other ideas when I was playing with her. You know, we embedded these into this one. Well, I remembered that I have some tiny little like crystal gems, and you know you get those like cool geode paintings and things in the range and stuff, and they're like made with resin, and they have things like this embedded into them, obviously on a much larger scale. And I also have some of this, which I know I got it in a garden centre and it was reduced. I think it's supposed to be like water for like model railway kind of sets and things. I think that's what it's supposed to be. So when we've done this one, I was thinking of coming back to this one and trying to set a few of these crystals and some of those little bits of water in there as well, along with this beautiful glass that's already in there. I think that might look really cool. And I was also thinking, I know a lot of you probably don't like the like arty, jaggedy kind of edge of this, so if we put all our powder inside the circle of a roll of tape and then take it off and then use the heat press on it, I'm thinking maybe that will give us a more uniform shape, so we could try that as well. And or as an alternative, we could do like 3 washi tape rolls or something as well. So I'm going to give that a try too. But so if you need more ideas, just go and have a game of fetch in the garden. In the wind, it's very windy out there at the moment. So we've got this beautiful matte effect. I do need to do one where I just leave it as a matte effect as well, so we've got that to look back at too. But for this, because we want to put these spangles in here, I've already got a few on the spoon ready. This is well and truly cooled down now, so it might take me a little bit longer to heat this up and make it go shiny, but let's give it a go. Got to act quickly whilst that is still a bit molten, and I'm just going to tap. I don't want to put too much on. I want to get a few of those shards and some of the ultra fine glitter in there as well. We might have to just go straight from the pot to get a few extra shards on there. I'm hoping this doesn't blow the glitter everywhere. I just want to try and... oh, it is going to blow it. I don't know if you could see that from up there, but it sort of glittered as it sunk under the surface. The big shards did blow off, but I think if we get my spangles, I'm just reaching for them. This is the whole range of all 10 of the beautiful colours of spangles. I will be doing a couple of sped up videos on these because I've got some ideas for cards. Obviously I've made quite a few cards already with them for Creative Expressions. I think I've filmed some of the footage for shorts. I can't remember. I haven't put any shorts up for a while because I've been, you know, I just haven't had a chance to edit them. But let's see if we can heat this up enough and try and just put some actual shards on here and be speedy enough to do it whilst it's still warm. Okay, that's quite molten now. I can see that moving when I heated it, so hopefully some of these will grab in. But yeah, that looks really good. I like that a lot. I thought these would work really nicely into ultra thick sort of applications. It just gives another cool random effect. So I really like that one too. I think that with maybe a butterfly and a sentiment across it would just look really gorgeous. I know it has got more of a messy edge to it, but I think in some cases that messy edge does look quite nice. It just kind of depends what card you're going for. Or this could be like a galaxy. You could have some little star die cuts in there, some little star sequins, and just keep it really, really simple with a nice saying on it as well. Or if you don't like the edge, as I said, we're going to try in a second using the roll of tape. But if you don't like the messy edge, just take another piece of card the same size as the one you're working on, cut a circle aperture in the top of it, and then place it on top. And then you'll have the perfect circular portion with this beautiful design in there as well. I just think it's so gorgeous, the kind of effects that you can get, and just mixing all sorts of random powders together as well. Like that bronze, it's kind of gone almost like a browny bronzy kind of colour in here. And look at the speckledness of the strawberry slush that we used, and the bright vibrancy of the two distressed glazes as well, and then having that beautiful spangles in there too. Looks really cool. So we've got that one now. I'm going to put the spangles away before I knock them everywhere. I need to use a dry dusting cloth to clean off your spoon because it grabs to all of that fine glitter. And I'm going to clean off my paper and my mat with that as well. It does grip. If you've ever used a silicone mat, oh sorry, it's gone out of focus then because I was wiping across the screen probably. If you've ever used a silicone mat, it does grip all sorts of little particles of things, so that's going to have to be washed under the sink and then like left to dry overnight, and then that'll be as good as new with all of the little bits and pieces will have gone off of it. But yeah, just a tip for that. So actually, yes, let's go back to this one. I really, really, really want to try this idea of embedding some of those into here as well, because that glass just looks so good. So I'm thinking, do I do it into this one or do I do another one? if we're going to go with that circle, let's do another one. Okay, so I wanted to go with the blue. Do we go back with the blues again? Because I wanted to try putting some of this in. Okay, let's pull out all of the blues again, and we'll go in a circle with a roll of Craft Perfect tissue tape. So let's go clear first, and actually I'm going to go a bit thicker this time. It might go a little bit splodgy, which might not be what we want, but I think if I go a bit thicker, those bits and pieces that we want to put in there are going to embed themselves in better. So let's go with some of the Serenity, try and get it up around the edges to make the, you know, the most of actually using this tape roll as kind of like a guide for where the powders are going. So hopefully this will keep it more in this circular shape. Obviously just wipe off any of the excess from around the edge, and maybe this would be a good way of those of you who don't like the randomness to be able to get more of a specific shape. And imagine that's like a cookie cutter rather than a roll of tape. You could have like a heart, a flower, all sorts of different things. So we turn this back on to setting number 1 because that was working really nicely for us. And then I've got my blue bit of paper over here. Oh yeah, we had that platinum, didn't we, in the other one? Oh, let's go and add a bit more. Let's do the platinum. Just add a little bit of that. There we go, that'll do. Cannot believe how quickly that heats up. So good. Okay, so if I need to remove that bit, otherwise if I do it mucky side down, actually I've got another piece here, I'll use a clean piece just because we don't want to make a mess on the rest of the card, because we're trying to specifically be neat with this. Okay, stay that way. Right. Trying to be a little bit gentler with the pressure as well, so it doesn't completely squidge out of its circular pattern, especially because I put more powder on. It might not have been the way to go to add more powder. I'm just thinking that the bits and pieces that I want to put in it are going to stay in it better if there's more powder for it to embed into. But if you're wanting to keep that perfect shape, maybe a bit less powder is good. But we shall see. I can already see actually it's squidging out of that shape, but it's going to give you more of a perfect shape than just doing it, you know, by eye, sprinkling it on. So okay, I think if we leave that to cool and then pull it off, and I think I will turn that off. We're going to do silver glass, some of these tiny little crystals. I can't remember where we got these from, but Mum and I shared them, I think. I think they're supposed to be like table scatterings. We got them in a bunch of different sizes. I used to always use the bigger ones in my photos when I used to take my photos on like this spice rack that had the white card over the top, and I used to sprinkle these into the shot as well, but I don't tend to take very good photos of my cards anymore, but yeah, that's where I used to use those kind of things. Okay, so I don't think I quite melted all of this down here, and it did splodge out over the top of the card there, so maybe not too much powder if you're trying to keep it in a specific shape. And I think, yeah, didn't actually melt some of that powder there. Let's just brush that out of the way, and let's go in with the heat tool to heat this up. Okay, I'm going to try and go for just here for sprinkling things in, because it's a little bit less interesting just there. And I'm going to sprinkle those and then heat it. They've set in there a little bit. Then I'm going to sprinkle in a little bit of the glass. Pumpkin. We just had a game in the garden, little one. Okay, and I'm going to heat that to help it embed in. Then I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of this, like little glass pellets they kind of are, but they're smooth. Okay, I don't know if that actually looks better than just having the glass in there, but we'll see. Okay, so I do think it kind of gives more of that resin sort of painting with crystals into it. I didn't want to put them over here this time because that looks really cool. The way look at that. That really looks like that putting the white alcohol ink into the resin with coloured alcohol inks, doesn't it, that little bit? But some of the effects you can get, obviously it's quite serendipitous because you're not 100% sure how you got the results before, but I love the results that you can get with this. Okay, so that's that one. I'm going to clear up, pick a different colour scheme, and then we're going to go with ironing it between two pieces of the parchment paper.